Good morning, sunshines. Today's portion of our body system lesson includes detection and movement. And the three body systems we'll talk about today with detection and movement are your nervous system, your muscular system, and your skeletal system. Let's get started. The first system is our nervous system, which is basically a large system or a large network of nerves that's located over all the parts of your body. And its job is to collect and transmit chemical and electrical signals. Okay. Our nervous system's main component is our central nervous system, central meaning in the middle. That is your brain, which you'll see here, a portion of a brain kind of cut in half so you can see how it looks on the inside. And this image on your right is an MRI, which is a magnetic resonance image, and that is just letting you see different parts of the brain. As you can see, almost like a horizontal view all the way through. Kind of cool. So we have our brain as a part of our central nervous system, and our spinal cord is the other part of our central nervous system. And everything coming off of your brain and your spinal cord, we're going to call that our peripheral nervous system. Just like in your periphery, when you hold your hands out, you hopefully can see your fingers moving, right? So the peripheral is coming off the middle. All right, and this is how we process and store our body's information and send signals all around, okay? Our nervous system is made up of these cells called neurons. Here's a couple of them together. They don't all look like this one, but this is a pretty good representation of what you guys need to see, and they'll probably show you on our EOC later this year. The main parts of your nerve cell are called your soma, or your cell body, and you can see that it has this little green thing on the inside, which is our nucleus. Remember, our nucleus is where we hold all of our DNA. Okay, another part of the cell are called dendrites, and dendrites are the portions of your neuron that receive chemical signals, chemical electrical impulses or signals. Okay, they receive these signals from other neurons, and then the signal travels along this thing called the axon to the axon terminal and all these other dendrites, and they will pass a message. These axon terminals will pass a message along something called a synapse to another neuron cell. That's pretty cool. They have thought, it's thought that you guys, all of us actually, have over 200 billion nerve cells in our bodies. That's amazing. And the amount of nerves that each nerve cell attaches to is somewhere between 5,000 and 200,000. So the network of message sending back and forth across your body is so vast, it actually makes more connections every day in your brain than all of the stars in the universe, which is pretty fantastic, actually, that your brain is that complex and have that many cells working together all the time to make you do cool stuff. Okay, so we'll talk next about a stimulus, and a stimulus is basically just any kind of thing that evokes some kind of response by an organ or a tissue, okay? So a lot of times you receive a stimulus is in the form of light or in the form of taste, like something salty or sweet, or maybe those crazy hot Cheetos you guys like to eat. You'll smell things. That's another sense, like when we had the vanilla diffusing out of the balloons, when you touch stuff, and obviously when you hear things, okay? So the sense of touch is a result of all of those billions of nerve cells in your skin sending messages up to your brain saying, hey, you touched something, and it sends a message back down to your hand, and you actually feel what you're touching. But it happens so fast, you don't even really realize that it's happening, which is almost the beauty of how quickly the electrical signals in your body work. Okay, this image was showing you how your integument, which is your skin system, works with your nervous system to help you feel things. Okay, pain, I know we felt pain sometimes. Pain is not a sense in the nervous system, but pain is almost like an indicator to your brain that something bad happened. So if you've ever been running and you ran into a hole and you kind of twisted your ankle to the side, that pain would shoot up through your leg and up to your brain to let you know, hey, you're injured. And that way you know to be sensitive to it or get it looked at by a doctor or just rest for a while. That helps you know that there's something wrong so that you can fix it, okay? The next system we'll talk about today is our muscular system. And our muscular system is what helps us move the most, right? Our muscles are attached to our bones. We'll talk about that more in a minute. And this helps us with all voluntary and involuntary movements, okay? Voluntary is something you choose to do, and involuntary is something your body kind of chooses for you to do, which is handy because I wouldn't remember to digest my food. It's nice that my stomach and my intestines do that for me, okay? So voluntary movements, a couple of examples of those would be like running and jumping, and involuntary movements would be like breathing and your heart beating, okay? The main organs of your muscular system are your muscles, right? They work by some motion called contraction, right? Which is almost like a squeezing. So I'll throw my arm up here, and when I contract my muscle, it gets smaller. And when I relax it, it gets longer, all right? So our skeletal muscles are attached to our bones, and that's what actually helps us move around. These are our voluntary movements because I can choose to jump or twirl or squat or raise my hands up or whatever, squeeze something. Okay, your skeletal muscle is called striated, and you can kind of see in this picture that it almost is like in stripes, okay, like a ribbed shirt. So it's striated. Our muscles are attached to our bones by something called tendons, and tendons are just a type of tissue we haven't talked about before, called connective tissue. And the whole job of connective tissue is connect two things together. It's simple as that. Okay. Skeletal muscles work in pairs, just like the image shows here. When the top one, like our bicep, is contracted, the bottom one, which is your tricep down here, is relaxed. And so if I relax my bicep, I can feel my tricep is contracted. So you can actually feel this back and forth and know which one is contracted and which one is relaxed. And you'll know that they kind of work in pairs opposite of each other. Okay. Smooth muscle is not like the skeletal muscle because it's involuntary. And your smooth muscle is what lines your lungs, and it lines all of your blood vessels, right? It's what helps all of your, it contracts and pushes the blood through. What's really cool about smooth muscle is if you cut it in half, or if you cut it down long ways and you open it up, it looks kind of like a telephone wire, and then it has one big cord around the outside, and then in the middle are a bunch of other little wires or tissues where information runs, okay, or tissues or blood or stuff runs through it. All right. One part of our muscular system that we've talked a lot about is our digestive system. Okay. And our digestive system is made up of smooth muscle. It'd be hard if it was rough muscle our food was going through, right? And remember, I talked to you about your smooth muscle and your digestive system working on something called peristalsis. And peristalsis is this motion where the smooth muscle kind of squeezes and twists and pulls down, squeezes and twists and pulls down, squeezes and twists and pulls down to help that food get through there quickly and efficiently, and then out and with the waste in the end. Okay. The next type of muscle we'll talk about is our cardiac muscle, and this is only found in your heart. It's a really cool muscle. It's like the skeletal muscle. Like you can see in the picture here, it's striated, so it's striped, has long fibers in there. But in addition to being striped, it's like branched. So it is the strongest and hardest working muscle. It's got to work on its own for many, many, many years. Some people over 100 years, which is kind of fantastic. And all of the cells in your heart work together, and they work together through these amazing electrical impulses that cause one part of your heart to beat and the rest of it to squish so that you can pump blood in and out. Okay, so we can always have oxygen to all of our body parts. Okay. Your muscles have a lot of mitochondria, right? The muscles are very specialized and they need a lot of energy because we know that moving takes energy, right? If you don't eat, you don't have the energy to move around. You'll see this image here is of something called the Krebs cycle. The Krebs cycle is basically a series of 8 different reactions that help turn your food and your oxygen into ATP, which we know is the body's energy, all right? Okay, so the next system we'll talk about today is our skeletal system. It's really cool. Our skeletal system consists of all of your bones. I don't remember if you guys knew this in middle school, but you guys have 206 bones. You didn't start out that way. As a baby, you had 300 bones, but a lot of those kind of fuse together as you get older, and now you end up with a total of 206 of them, okay? Your skeletal system is alive. Isn't that interesting? So these bones are not like They're not like steel rods or something. They have different levels inside of them, different layers. The outside is like a really hard kind of a bone, and the interior, the middle layer is not middle. The second layer toward the middle is like a honeycomb or spongy kind of a bone, and the very, very interior is where your marrow is stored. And the job of your bones is to protect your internal organs and to help make blood for you. Okay. Bones also store minerals like calcium, and you guys get calcium from drinking milk and eating cheese and yogurt and stuff like that. Bones are connected to other bones. Like right here, you'll see your kneecap, which is your patella, and it is attached to your femur and your shin bone, your tibia, by something called ligaments, okay? So just like the muscles were connected to bones by tendons, bones are connected to other bones by ligaments. The bone marrow is the place in your bones where your blood is made, all types of your blood, your white blood, your red blood. Remember, your white blood, we'll talk about that later, is part of your immune system. Okay, it keeps you healthy and safe and fights off disease. And your red blood is what carries all of your oxygen and other nutrients and stuff around your body. And then your platelets, which help clot your blood when you're having a cut or an infection, and they just help plug up bad stuff, okay? The bone marrow is found in flat bones like your scapula, which is back here on your back, and your sternum, and then your ribs, and then your vertebrae. And it's found at the end of your humerus and your femur. There's another kind of marrow that doesn't make blood, and it's called yellow marrow, but that's a little too deep for us right now. We'll talk about that later. Okay. Certain bones interact with other systems to protect your organs, right? So you see here a picture of your ribs, and your ribs protect your heart and your stomach and your liver and your spleen and your gallbladder and all those kidneys and all those really important parts, right? If I ran into a wall, I don't want to whack my spleen and make it fall apart. So it's good to have those ribs as protection. Your skull obviously protects your very, very important brain to help you learn and think and grow and process and remember and stuff like that. And your vertebrae, which is this long column here, is what protects your spinal cord from your neck all the way down to your tuchus. Okay, we've talked about the terms endo and exo before. We all know that endo means inside and exo means outside. And so endo, we as humans and a lot of other mammals have something called an endoskeleton, which means our skeleton or our bones are inside of our body, protected by all kinds of other stuff, muscles and skin and things on the outside. Well, about 95% of all the other living organisms out there, almost all of the insects, arachnids, crustaceans, all these other kinds of organisms, they have an exoskeleton. They don't have bones on the inside of their body. They have a skeleton on their outside, and it's called an exoskeleton, and their skeleton is made of something called chitin, which is spelled C-H-I-T-I-N, okay, pronounced chitin. And this is kind of crunchy, and the chitin stuff is a similar kind of protein to the keratin that's in your guys' hair and fingernails. Not exactly the same. It's similar. Anyway, but their exoskeleton is what protects them and keeps their bodies from drying out, right? And it's what sounds kind of crunchy when you step on them. Okay. Thanks for listening to our detection and movement today. I hope you guys took some good notes along with the PowerPoint notes I handed out to you guys, and I will see you at the next PowerPoint. Talk to you later. Bye.